I was earning 80,000 every month. It was not a lot of money, but it was guaranteed. Every month I knew something was coming. I knew that after working, there would be a salary. I knew what to expect. And then, I left. I left the guaranteed salary. I left the routine. I left the comfort of knowing exactly when money was coming. And now, I mold blocks by hand. I mix cement. I carry materials. I work under the sun. I get tired. My clothes get dirty. My hands get rough. And sometimes after working all day, I still have to ask myself, was this the right decision? Because when you leave a salary job, people don't always see the dream inside your decision. They only see the risk. They see the uncertainty. They see you working with your hands. They see the struggle. And sometimes they ask, why did you leave your job? Why did you leave guaranteed money? Why are you doing this kind of work? And honestly, sometimes I ask myself the same questions. But I also ask myself another question. A question that became impossible to ignore. If I continue living the same life, where will I be 5 years from now? And that question changed everything. I didn't leave my job because I had already become successful. I didn't leave because I had millions of naira saved. I didn't leave because I had a perfect plan. I left because I realized that if I kept doing the same thing, I might wake up years later and discover that I had spent my entire life surviving, but never really building. So I made a decision. I decided to try. And this is what happened next. This is not a story about a man who already made it. This is not a story about someone who became rich overnight. This is not a story about luxury cars, expensive houses, or showing off money online. This is a story about a person who is still trying. A person who left 80,000 a month and is now trying to build something bigger with his own hands. This is the beginning. This is episode 1. And if I succeed, you will see where I started. And if I fail, you will see that too. Because I am not documenting the end of the journey. I am documenting the beginning. I left 80,000 a month. Now I am building from the ground up. Before this work, before the cement, before the blocks, before the early mornings and the tired evenings, there was another life. A life where I had a salary. Every month I knew that money was coming. 80,000. That was what I was earning. And when you hear the number by itself, you may think, that is not enough. And honestly, sometimes it wasn't enough. But when you are the person receiving it, you learn to manage what you have. You learn to adjust. You learn to survive. You learn how to stretch money. You learn how to say, maybe next month. You learn how to postpone things. You learn how to manage bills. You learn how to make one amount of money serve many different responsibilities. Transport, food, personal needs, family needs, bills, unexpected problems. And then suddenly, the money is gone. And you are waiting again. Waiting for the next month. Waiting for the next salary. Waiting for another opportunity. And the cycle continues. You work. You get paid. You spend. You wait. Then you work again. And after some time, you begin to realize something. You are busy. But are you really moving forward? There is a difference between being busy and making progress. You can wake up every morning. You can work hard every day. You can be tired every night. And still feel like your life is standing in one place. That feeling is difficult to explain. Because from the outside, people see you working. They see you waking up. They see you going to your job. They see you receiving your salary. So they say, at least you have a job. And they are right. Having a job is something to appreciate. But sometimes inside yourself you know that you want more. Not because you are ungrateful. Not because you think the job is beneath you. Not because you believe you deserve everything immediately. You simply know that you want to build something. You want to grow. You want to see what you are capable of. And that feeling started growing inside me. I began to think about the future. What happens if I continue this way? What happens if 5 years pass? What happens if 10 years pass? What happens if I continue earning around the same amount? What happens if I keep waiting for something to change? And the truth is, sometimes nothing changes until you make a decision. You can wait for a better opportunity. You can wait for someone to help you. You can wait for the perfect time. But sometimes the perfect time never comes. Sometimes you have to make a decision while you are still afraid. And that is what I did. I was afraid. But I was also tired of asking myself the same questions. So eventually, I had to choose. Do I continue with the life I already understand? Or do I take a risk and try to build something different? I didn't know exactly what would happen. But I knew that staying in the same place was also a decision. And sometimes, not making a decision is still a decision. I had to be honest with myself. Was I truly satisfied? Or was I simply used to my situation? Because there is a difference. Sometimes we call something comfort. But really we are just afraid of what comes next. Sometimes we say, at least I have something. And yes, having something is better than having nothing. But what if you are capable of building more? What if the fear of losing what you have is stopping you from discovering what you can become? That was the question I had to face. The decision to leave did not happen like a movie. There was no dramatic scene. No boss shouting. No big argument. No moment where I suddenly became fearless. It was more complicated than that. The decision grew slowly. It grew from many thoughts. Many questions. Many days of feeling like I needed to do something different. Sometimes the biggest decisions in life happen quietly. You sit alone. You think. You calculate. You imagine the future. You ask yourself, what am I doing? Where am I going? What do I actually want? And sometimes, nobody else can answer those questions for you. You have to answer them yourself. I knew I had skills. I knew I could work. I knew I could learn. I knew I had experience with physical work and construction-related work. I knew how to lay bricks. I knew how to work with cement. I knew how to mold blocks by hand. But knowing how to do work and building a life from that work are two different things. I had never had everything figured out. I didn't know exactly how many clients I would get. I didn't know how much I would earn. I didn't know how difficult it would become. I didn't know how people would react. But at some point I realized something. You can spend your whole life waiting until you feel ready. And you may never feel ready. Because fear does not always disappear before you begin. Sometimes you begin. And fear follows you. Sometimes you take the step. While your hands are still shaking. That was my reality. I was not completely confident. I was not completely prepared. I was not completely sure. But I knew I had to try. And so I resigned. That sentence sounds simple. I resigned. But behind those two words were many emotions. Fear. Hope. Doubt. Excitement. Pressure. And uncertainty. Because once you leave a salary, the reality becomes different. Before, you know what you are expecting. After leaving, you have to create opportunities. You have to work. You have to think. You have to learn. You have to find a way forward. Nobody is promising you a salary at the end of the month. Nobody is saying, don't worry, the money is coming. Now you have to face the question, what am I going to do? And that question can be very uncomfortable. But it can also force you to grow. Because when you have no choice but to figure things out, you start discovering abilities you didn't know you had. I decided to focus on the work I already knew. The work I could do with my own hands. Block work. Bricklaying. Molding blocks. Mixing cement. Physical work. Honest work. Work that may not look glamorous, but work that is real. And that is where my new journey began. Not in a big office. Not in a business conference. Not with a large investment. But with my hands. Starting again is humbling. Especially when people know you from your previous life. People remember the job you had. They remember the salary. They remember your routine. And then suddenly, they see you doing something completely different. Some people ask questions. Some people give advice. Some people doubt you. Some people may even laugh. But when you are the person who made the decision, you have to live with it. And that is one of the hardest things about making a different decision. You cannot expect everybody to understand what you see, because they are not inside your mind. They don't feel what you feel. They don't know the dreams you carry. They don't know the questions that keep you awake. They only see the outside. And from the outside, it may look like I left a job to do harder work. Maybe that is exactly what it looks like. But I see something else. I see an opportunity to learn. I see an opportunity to grow. I see an opportunity to build something. The work I am doing now may be physically harder. But life is not only about choosing the easiest thing today. Sometimes you have to choose the thing that can take you somewhere tomorrow. And I am still trying to discover where this can take me. I am not pretending that everything is easy. It is not. There are days when the work is tiring. There are days when the money is not what I hoped for. There are days when I look at other people and wonder if I am behind. There are days when I think about my old salary. There are days when I ask, would it have been easier if I had stayed? And the answer is probably yes. Some things would be easier. But easy is not always the same as right. Sometimes you can choose the easier path and still feel empty. Sometimes you can choose the harder path and feel like you are finally moving towards something. I am still trying to understand that. I am still learning. But I know this. I cannot build a new future by constantly living in the past. So I have to work with what I have now. And what I have now is my strength, my experience, my hands, my ability to learn, and my willingness to continue. This is the part people don't always see. The real work. Not the motivational quote. Not the final result. The actual work. The early morning. The preparation. The lifting. The carrying. The mixing. The repeating. Again. And again. And again. Sometimes the work is not complicated. But that does not mean it is easy. You do the same movement repeatedly. You carry. You lift. You mix. You mold. You move. You repeat. And after some time, your body begins to feel it. Your back feels it. Your hands feel it. Your legs feel it. Your entire body knows that you worked. But there is something about physical work that teaches you a different kind of lesson. It teaches you that progress can be repetitive. Sometimes building a better life is not one dramatic action. Sometimes it is doing the same important thing again and again. The same discipline. The same effort. The same commitment. Even when you don't feel motivated. Because motivation can disappear. But the work still has to be done. There are days when I don't feel like working. There are days when I feel tired before I even start. But the work is waiting. And sometimes you simply have to begin. You don't need to feel powerful. You don't need to feel inspired. You don't need to feel confident. Sometimes you just need to start. One block. Then another. One task. Then another. One day. Then another. That is how progress happens. Slowly. Quietly. Without applause. Nobody may see the first 100 times you do the work. But those repetitions are building something. And that is what I am trying to understand in this season of my life. The work may look small. But small work repeated consistently can become something big. A block is small. But many blocks can become a building. And maybe life is the same way. One decision. One skill. One opportunity. One lesson. One day. then another. And eventually, you look back and realize you have built something. Right now, I am still in the process. I am not showing you a finished building. I am showing you the foundation. And foundations are not always beautiful. They are dirty. They are dusty. They are under the ground. People may not even see them. But without a foundation, the building cannot stand. Let's talk about the part people always want to know. The money. Because at the end of the day, we all need money to survive. When I was earning 80,000, I knew the amount. I knew what to expect. Now, things can be different. Some days are better than others. Some opportunities come. Some opportunities don't come. Some weeks feel productive. Other weeks can feel slow. And that uncertainty is real. I'm not going to pretend that I have already figured it out. I have not. I am still trying to understand how to grow. How to find more opportunities. How to manage money. How to make better decisions. How to turn my skills into something bigger. And I think that is one of the reasons I want to document this journey. Because there are many people online showing the final result. But not enough people show the beginning. Not enough people show the uncertainty. Not enough people show what it feels like to start without knowing exactly where you will end. I want to show the real process. The days when things are going well. And the days when they are not. Because I don't want to create a fake story. I don't want to pretend that everything is perfect. I don't want to pretend that I have millions. I don't want to pretend that I already know everything. I am still learning. And maybe that is the most honest place to start. There is pressure when you leave a salary. Because people expect you to succeed immediately. They may think, you left your job, so now you must be making more money. But life does not always work that way. Sometimes you take a step backward before you take a step forward. Sometimes you have to learn. Sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes you choose the wrong opportunity. Sometimes you undercharge. Sometimes you work hard and the result is not what you expected. But every experience teaches you something. And I am trying to learn from all of it. I don't want to simply work hard. I want to understand the work. I want to understand how to grow. I want to understand how to improve. Because working hard without learning can keep you in the same place. So my goal is not only to work. My goal is to build. When people see me working now, they may only see the current moment. They see the blocks. They see the cement. They see the physical work. But I see a beginning. I don't know exactly what the final result will look like. And maybe that is okay. Because when you are building something, you don't always see the entire structure at the beginning. You start with the foundation. Then you add another part. Then another. You make mistakes. You correct them. You learn. You continue. That is how I see this journey. Right now, I am doing the work I can do. But I don't want to remain exactly where I am forever. I want to grow. I want to improve my skills. I want to understand business. I want to find better opportunities. I want to create more income. I want to build something that can give me more freedom. And I want to become the kind of person who can look back and say, I started with very little, but I did not stay there. That is the dream. Not just money. Growth. The ability to look at yourself and know, I am becoming better. Because sometimes success is not immediately visible. Sometimes success is simply becoming more capable than you were last year. Last year you did not know something. Now you know it. Last year you were afraid to try. Now you are trying. Last year you were waiting for someone to give you an opportunity. Now you are creating your own opportunity. That is progress. It may not look impressive online, but it matters. And I want to remind myself of that. Because it is easy to compare yourself to people who are already far ahead. You see someone else's final result. But you don't see their beginning. You see their success. But you don't see their struggle. You see their money. But you don't see the years they spent learning. And if you compare your beginning to someone else's middle, you will always feel behind. So I am trying to focus on my own journey, my own work, my own progress, my own next step. I want to be honest about something. There are days when I doubt myself. There are days when I wonder if I made a mistake. There are days when I look at my situation and think, maybe I should have stayed. Because when you leave something familiar, the unfamiliar can be uncomfortable. You start thinking about all the things that could go wrong. What if I fail? What if I don't make enough money? What if people were right? What if I cannot build what I imagined? Those thoughts can become heavy. But I am learning something. Doubt does not always mean you made the wrong decision. Sometimes doubt simply means the decision is important to you. You are afraid because you care. You are worried because you want it to work. You are uncertain because you cannot see the future. And none of us can see the future. All we can do is make the best decision we can with the information we have. That is what I did, comma. I made the best decision I could, comma. And now I have to give myself time, comma. I cannot expect one decision to change my entire life immediately. I cannot work for a few weeks and expect everything to be perfect. I cannot start something new and expect to understand everything immediately. Learning takes time. Building takes time. Growth takes time. And sometimes the hardest part is continuing while you are still waiting for results. Because when you do not see immediate results, you begin to wonder if your effort is working. But look at a block. When you first make it, you may not see the building it will become. You only see one block. But the building is not created by one block. It is created by many. And maybe our lives are the same. One day of work may not change everything. One decision may not solve every problem. One opportunity may not make you successful. But you continue. And slowly, you build. There is another reason I am documenting this journey. I want to remember where I started. Because when life eventually improves, it is easy to forget the difficult days. It is easy to forget the days when you had nothing figured out. It is easy to forget the days when you were working with what you had. So I want to record this. The beginning, the struggle, the work, the mistakes, the lessons. I want to be able to look back one day and say, this is where I started. And maybe someone watching this is also at the beginning. Maybe you are working a job you don't like. Maybe you feel stuck. Maybe you have a dream but you are afraid. Maybe you don't know what your next step should be. I am not here to tell you to quit your job. Please don't make a major decision just because you watched one video. Your situation is different from mine. Your responsibilities are different. Your opportunities are different. But I want you to understand something. You should not ignore the questions inside you. If you have a dream, if you want to start a business, study it. If you want to learn a skill, start learning. If you want to change your life, begin preparing. You don't always have to quit immediately. Sometimes you can build something on the side. Sometimes you can save. Sometimes you can learn. Sometimes you can prepare quietly. The important thing is that you do not spend your entire life waiting for the perfect moment. Because the perfect moment may never come. I am starting from where I am. And maybe you have to start from where you are too. Not where you wish you were. Not where someone else is. Where you are. That is where every journey begins. I left $80,000 a month. I left the guaranteed salary. I left the routine. And I started again. I don't know exactly how this story will end. Maybe I will succeed. Maybe I will fail. Maybe I will have to start again. But I know one thing. I am going to try. Because I would rather try and learn than spend the rest of my life wondering, what if? These hands may be tired. They may be dirty. They may not have everything yet. But they are working. And as long as I can work, as long as I can learn, as long as I can continue, I believe there is still a chance to build something. One day, one job, one block, one lesson, at a time. This is not the story of someone who has already made it. This is the story of someone who is still trying to make it. I left 80,000 a month. And now, I am building my future from the ground up. This is episode 1. This is where the journey begins. And one day, I hope I can look back at these photos. Look at these hands. Look at these blocks. Look at these difficult days. And say, I am glad I didn't give up. This is only the beginning.